No, I took a hiatus sometime in February with an intention to resume shortly thereafter. And then I was met with a very stressful life event, the transition of my father on March 17th. And so it's great to be back. It's kind of, it seems very new to be in front of a camera. So the first week of the Well-Being Moment is just me being open and vulnerable and uncertain, but also sharing with you from my heart, um, just saying with gratitude the thoughts, prayers, and messages I've received over the last 6 weeks following the transition of my father. My family greatly appreciates this, your kind thoughts for Peace Profound in his transition. Having said that, I decided that this week I was going to deal with the topic of grieving in the well-being moment. So today I'm going to start with the stages of grief, and then tomorrow I'm going to embark on some tools to assist with grieving. And also for the rest of the week, we'll talk about topics such as completion and also how to move on and remain committed to your ongoing commitments as a way of celebrating the legacy of that who has departed. And just as an aside here, grieving occurs in across the board. It's not just related to the death of a loved one. It could be the loss of something that was very special to us. It could be the loss of a relationship. It could be the loss of a pet, or even the loss of a job. And as I highlighted in my book, Dr. Eno's Guide to Living Powerfully with Diabetes, even being diagnosed with a chronic illness does bring on some sense of grieving. In fact, most times people go through the several stages of grieving when they're informed of a chronic illness, because it represents something that they have lost. Most times it's their health that they have a sense they've lost. So speaking of that, I'll go through the stages of grieving, and this is just to highlight to you that there are stages of grieving, but grieving is intensely personal. And from my experience, I experience these stages sometimes several times throughout the day, sometimes, several times throughout the week, or I'd languish in one stage for several days on end. The stages of grieving that we know of are the first stage being denial, then anger, then depression, followed by bargaining, and finally acceptance. Now, these stages are pretty self-explanatory. Denial is this cannot be happening to me. Anger is why is this happening to me. Depression is, the emotion associated with this particular situation happening to me. And then bargaining is, how can I make this not happen to me? And then acceptance is, I accept that this is finally happening to me, just in a nutshell. And as I explained earlier on, I went through these stages sometimes several times throughout the day. Like I'd go from denial, this is not happening, this is happening to somebody else. I'm watching a movie about my life, and or I'm dreaming if I pinch myself hard enough, all the way through anger to depression, and then some semblance of acceptance. And it's perfectly normal to experience these emotions. And one of the things we speak about in ontological coaching is that we need to be with these emotions and normalize these emotions, and not necessarily make them anything more than what they are, which is simply emotions. So if you are going through grieving, as I have been and am going through, it's perfectly fine to go through these emotions. You may experience them on and off. You may languish in a certain stage for several days, or even several hours. You may not encounter all the stages, but the important thing is that at the end of the grieving process, there should be some form of acceptance with what's so. So tomorrow we're going to delve more into the process of grieving and how to cope with that. Until tomorrow, here's to your health and well-being. Dr. Eno, and it's great to be back. Thank you.